The following is a presentation of the Forcecenter podcast feed.
Podcasting live. We are live, and this could be a fun adventure. I'm kind of stalling for time so I can go somewhere else. Well, Joseph, I'll tell you this. Hello, Joseph Scrimshaw. How are you? Oh,
exciting,
and then,
very clean intro.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we've been doing,
was I muted?
You were muted. That's on mine. We are professionals.
Okay.
We are professionals. There was a
Friday.
It's Friday. We're drinking some jet juice, and we had a last second technical issue that is still being weird. But you're all watching us live, and I can confirm, Joseph, that YouTube does see you, whether or not you see yourself.
Yeah. So welcome everyone. Hello there. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and I think that I'm kind of smiling and have a little light behind my eyes, but I don't know because when I'm actually seeing on screen is I see Ken in his wonderful hat and then a black box where I normally am. I feel that our system is saying I only kind of exist, but in spirit. I'm a force spirit. But if you all can see me, then we're great and happy to be here.
Hey, Bador's here. Happy belated birthday, Bador. There you go. Yes, Rednecks 42's Red podcasters are never late to misquote Gandalf. Yeah, there's something, we use StreamYard. A lot of people use StreamYard. I've had no problems with them. They're not the best in terms of sound quality, everything. I get it. But today there's been something weird going on in the air. There you go. So, yep, Matthew Stokes says we can see you, Joseph. Lauren Rose says we can see you. So,
Thank you. Joseph, I literally feel seen.
Literally, it's a leap of force faith that we've got to do.
So, Ken, we often have a little drink. What are you enjoying today?
Ooh, no sponsors, of course, but I got my Zevia creamy root beer, one of my favorites. Picked it up at the old Target today, and then I got some stolen overproof rum. Finishing the bottle.
Ooh, the dregs, the last spirits. I have something that I don't want anybody to think that all of this is pink gin or anything. This is something that I've been picking up to go to the Hollywood Bowl because they have you can bring stuff, but it's got to be in cans. It is a Tanqueray gin and soda with some orange flavoring. Look at how elegant this is. I feel like Obi-Wan would drink this.
I love that. That is a beautiful looking thing there. You went to the bowl this week. I was you sneak off to the bowl a lot.
We live within relatively easy walking distance. We're lucky to be able to go. And this year we just decided like, hey, there are like 3 to 4 concerts that sound interesting. We can just walk there. We can just do that. So yeah, we saw the Paris Opera Ballet do some lovely dancing to music. And then this week, we saw a tribute to Frank Sinatra and Peggy Lee, and it was great. Big fan of Frank Sinatra and Peggy Lee in that era of music. And it was a bunch of just phenomenal jazz singers and Broadway performers just performing, like really going bleep to the walls performing.
Much like the creative team at Industrial Lights and Magic in the 70s, as everyone's learning right now. Just go.
Yes.
We are here having some fun. We're going to begin our countdown to Andor, which just means we're going to talk for a couple minutes of why we're excited for Andor, which we do every week on the show. But more importantly, here we're going to take your questions. We both have the chats up. Super chats are out there. They're always appreciated. Of course, we're not going to lie about that. But we love talking to all of you. So if you got a question, just post in there. And we will get to it. Good to see Big Lou of Big Lou's Clubhouse in here as well. Pretty sure that's not much Obi-Wan wouldn't drink. I think that's pretty true.
I think so. I think he has I think he'd take any blue whiskey, but I think he has a preferred blue whiskey that he knows about and can tell you.
Yeah. I think they're you got that Kelly Knox book that just came out or is on the way out, the Be More Like Obi-Wan. I do think we need the Obi-Wan drink book. I think
drink like Obi-Wan. Drink more Obi-Wan. Yeah.
Alden Diaz is in here, but this is my camera settings might be messed up. He says, Ken with the blue beanie this time. Nope, it's purple. So my camera might be off.
Well, everybody has a little bit of the blue purple spectrum is
Hmm.
challenging for all of us. I really felt purple, Ken.
Okay.
When I first logged on, the first thing I saw was I can't see myself, but I can see Ken's excellent Skeletor cosplay. That is so purple, it makes me think of Skeletor, and it makes me happy.
This is a Skeletor purple. That's so awesome that you pointed that out. I'm not going to claim that as I did that on purpose, but now that I have it on my head, it's Skeletor. Skeletor. Love it there. Yeah, we're looking forward to Andor. It's a thumbnail. I want to deliver on promises, Joseph.
Mhm.
Is it weird to think that we are now about 32 days from a new Star Wars show again?
Yeah, we are so close. In one way, it feels like, okay, this is great. We're getting lots of Star Wars television shows. But if you really look at the number of shows, we've got
Yeah.
Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, which to me feel like Mandoverse and definitely have the same sort of creative vision tying them together. And then we got Obi-Wan. So of course, Bad Batch animated, but that's kind of coming from Clone Wars. So I'm so excited that we're a couple of years into the Disney Plus adventure, and now we're going to have this, I think, really new slice of Star Wars. It's probably going to feel like Rogue One, but as a television show, I have
Mhm.
such hopes and expectations that it's just going to feel and move differently while still being Star Wars. And that's the thing that's like, it feels like Mando and Obi-Wan all over again. That first night, that first episode, going,
Mm.
exactly how is it going to move? Exactly how is it going to feel?
I love that point. That taking back, we always talk about, here on Force, we love new Star Wars. We love that beat before something new rolls out, whether it's a book, a comic, show. That Mando, wasn't that was a fun, just a bizarre experience. Be like, I'm about to watch Star Wars TV, and then like the logo and the new Disney Plus logo, and then the Star Wars helmet logo, and then that took us into another. And we're gonna get to do that kind of again with Andor. I think it's a great point. Hmm.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's gonna be a real fun thing too, to like, are they switching up the helmets, or is it just gonna be Andor's face?
Yeah,
Metallic
yeah.
face again and again. Shunk, shunk, shunk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be. Can we get B2 emo on that little opening? It's
It's
already
just
popular.
B2 emu. Emo. I said B2 emu, the
I
animal. Different droid, I think.
I've been saying that too. Lord Romo checking in says Star Wars spy thriller. Can't wait. I think that's on the screen, man.
Yeah,
I
it
got
is.
to. Okay. I think also like just computers ready to die. Now, I've rebooted it. I've done all the things. Everything's moving slow. It's just one of those days. It's a Friday. It's a Friday.
Yeah,
Um,
totally understandable.
Do you think we've never really discussed this yet here, but we got this Mandoverse that pops out. Kenobi's its own thing, but we might get a second season, which wasn't planned. We know we got 2 years for Andor. Could we spin off into the Mon Mothma Chronicles or a new character? Like I'm up for that, of course. I'd love to see where it goes. I just think there's that kind of potential. You're so right. It starts a new little section of Star Wars TV.
Yeah, no, I really hope that it can be organic.
Yeah.
Everybody, I agree, Maddie Gunner. You can never be too emo. See if what the droid thinks about that one. No, I think I'm so curious to see how much the Mon Mothma side of things is the very clear subplot, or just like
Yeah.
literal amount of story, literal time on screen. It's a two hander, as it were, that we're following Mon Mothma's story, or is that something? The realities of Chandrilla, is that something that can be
Yeah.
spun out from?
Hmm.
But people talk a lot about with MCU in the theaters being planned, and obviously some of it was planned,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
some of it was also responsive. What's working? And it's
Yeah.
great to think about it from that perspective of, if there's something in Andor that catches fire, great.
Yeah, let it catch fire there. Look at this Bilbo Baggins, who's a Force Center fan, but also a Lord of the Rings Tolkien lore guy. Says just look at Andor is Kenyan Elvish for the island of Numenor. So that's neat because Numenor is going to be where a lot of Rings of Power is based. It's synergy of the nerd bonanza that August and September is going to be. There we go. So we hope you're all excited for Andor. This is it's Joseph, it's starting to get daunting though, looking at all the great nerd television coming down the pipeline with Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, anything else. Got to finish What We Do in the Shadows season 4. Like there's a lot.
There's a lot. The list is long. And then you find a show like sometimes from like 15 years ago you've never watched, or 40 years ago you've never watched, and like, you know what? I'm going to give that one a try. Yeah. So that it's challenging.
I've got I haven't got Lost, Breaking Bad, The Wire. These are some big shows I've missed. Now's not the time to restart or give those a go. That's not it.
Maybe not. I power watched The Wire and I'm catching up on Better Call Saul. If there's anything, if any energy is weird with me, I power watched like 2 seasons of Better Call Saul in like a week and a half. So everything is about plots and machinations in my mind.
Yeah, that's perfect for a spy thriller coming up here. Love that stuff there. I was going to ask you. We're joking here about being busy, but have you had a chance to watch Light and Magic yet, or even start?
I haven't, because I know that is one that my wife and I are going to want to share. So we have to figure out exactly when to start that one. It is so weird and glorious to be able to have so many options. We did like a 7-week trial of BritBox because there was one thing that we wanted to see, one episode of Doctor Who that we didn't have available otherwise, of classic Doctor Who. And then we were like, okay, well, we only have like actually one night this week to watch something. So we should watch something else from BritBox before this trial subscription. And I don't need a personal assistant for any career stuff, but maybe for my viewing, my wife and I need a personal assistant. I'm joking, but it feels that way of trying to schedule it, how to fit it all in. And I can't, I don't want to rush Industrial Light and Magic. I want to sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm about 2.5 episodes in, and it is, I'm just so excited. Everyone's happy about it. I'm seeing a lot of tweets, close to spoiler tweets for a documentary series, which is weird to say, but I can see it. And it's one of those things. We'll talk more about it, I'm sure, on the main show, at least on our Star Wars Adventures. Especially old dogs like you and I, Joseph, we've been around for so long. You think you know all the stories. You think you've heard everything. And they're unveiling some stuff that didn't know or hadn't been focused on. And a lot of that's there. And it's fulfilling. It's fun. It's as fulfilling as Phil Tippett's beard.
Well, that's I would see 6 episodes of that. Speaking of fulfilling, I have a question for you, Ken, about the amount of content that is coming. Obviously, the Star Wars shows, and then the new Game of Thrones, new Lord of the Rings. It's all amazing. If the Disney Plus current dates hold, they are right now claiming that they're going to release episodes of Andor and Bad Batch same night. So here's my question. Do you want to be able to watch them back to back? Or do you want to be able to be like, I'm going to wait a day for one because I want to sit in the mood of Andor and then move over to Bad Batch? And kind of the same thing with Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. Like, they're very similar, but like, I don't know. For me, there's this like, I like to be in the mood, like sit with it for like even a day. How do you feel about all that?
I think you're absolutely right, and it's a viewing habit thing. Like I'm a old fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I haven't watched for like 4 or 5 years. So I'm doing a big rewatch of that show, and it's gone on forever. On days that I watch that, like usually the gym, or so, I don't watch other things because I have to be in the mood for that kind of show, and it's not that I can't shift gears. We can't for the podcast, but it's a little bit of it's a silly challenge to have, obviously. I know, but it's a great question because even for Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, similar, but 2 different worlds, 2 different vibes. And on Friday night, you're going to be feeling good because the battle of good and evil and a family-friendly Rings of Power. And then you're going to go to House of the Dragon, which, probably not family-friendly.
A different kind of family. Yeah.
Especially get ready for this one.
Targaryen family friendly should be a rating. This is family friendly if your family is the Targaryens.
There's a lot of questions I got to answer. So I'm with you. It's like I said, I'm not poking fun at the question. It's a great question, but it's a silly thought to have in 2022 when in 1987 we had none of this. But Andor and a Bad Batch, different vibes. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see how fans talk about it. I know social media isn't everything, so I always keep in mind, like, I get this vibe from social media, but then there are a lot of people who aren't on social media, and I feel like a lot of us, we want to see it right away so that we can be a part of the conversation, or so that we know, or so that we don't get spoilers. And there's a part of that that's like so thrilling because just, hey, want to see it all. And there's a part of me that wants to just like make sure that we all have time to absorb and process.
Yeah, and look, people in chat are kind of understanding where you're coming from there. Douglas Dubois says, I think I'll definitely give Andor the space to breathe for a day. Bilbo Bagginsons, who is so ready for Rings Apart. I'm overwhelmed. When Thrones was on, it was like 10 weeks of fantasy playoffs, and that's all I could think of. Can't imagine I can mentally juggle them all. Yeah, again, we're living in a great time for nerds. We totally get that, but I think that's it's like pinball. It's emotional pinball.
Jake Stanley says the more we have to watch, the better. I think that's great. And yes.
100%. Oh, yeah, sorry. Go
100%.
ahead.
Oh, no. And Jake also gave us this lovely. Thank you very much. Very appreciated. But yeah, I really love hearing different perspectives. It'll be really interesting too. I don't think like they're coordinating Andor and Bad Batch so that like specific there are specific connections. Like I don't think it's like to that level, obviously. But it'll be interesting to see if something just kind of happens, like a specific kind of Star Wars theme or idea is really concentrated on, or an event is mentioned.
Right.
Both shows same night.
That would be very impressive if themes line up on those shows. Redneck says Sandman binge drop adds to the struggle too. Yeah, absolutely. Again, this is also the why I feel sometimes like the Star Wars comics get a little bit of the short end of the stick for me. Where I just kind of stare at the stack of comics and say, I'll get to them one day. And then I'll binge them on a Saturday in terms of the comics, because it's just a lot to take in, but ready to do it. As Jake says, what a time to be alive. Yeah.
Indeed.
We are ready to take your questions here too. If you guys got any specific questions about Andor, about anything else, we'll try to answer them, as best we can on a late Friday with weird tech problems happening. Like I feel some weird mojo on my computer. Like I don't think my hand is moving as fast as I wanted to on the screen.
David McKay here says Cassian sits down to watch that week's The Bad Batch episode during the episode of Andor. Perfect solution. I think if it was presented as a surprise tag at the end of Andor, here is a whole episode of Bad Batch. Great.
That would be great. A little like him listening to a Lando podcast or something in the middle of it.
Yeah, he finds an old episode. This history from a little earlier than now, the Bad Batch.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about how Andor is going to have maybe a little bit more of a serious or somber tone. There's a lot at stake in the galaxy at this time. But we know there's going to be some Star Wars joys. I'd love to have, especially early on when maybe Andor's around his family or his community, and you're building those connections, that they get to play a new Star Wars board game that we all learn about, or sit around and listen to the radio. That'd be fun for me.
Yeah, they probably have non-hollow Dejeric that they have to play with the physical pieces, but they make do. Yeah, it's really fun to imagine Andor just having a horrific day and trying to unwind with some Bad Batch and laughing at Wrecker hitting his head on something. That Wrecker.
And then people saying, David Taylor, great comment here. Andor seen Bad Batch and asking what the hell happened to him. Yeah, it's gonna be great. And yeah, we're also reading. I mean, you and I had to last couple of days. I haven't had a chance to pick it up. I just want the world to know that The Princess and the Scoundrel is a great Star Wars book. I don't want people to overlook this book.
Yeah, no, and I think the fact that the embargo, I believe, lifted around the same day, or maybe the same day that the Obi-Wan book Padawan came out. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of book conversation coming at once. But yeah, I was talking about it on the news show. I just kind of opened it early in the morning with the intention to read a different book before my wife woke up. And it's like, I'm just going to look at like, how does it begin? And oh man, I just like Angels started singing. That first chapter was like, or the first 2 pages were just like, what? And yeah, it's really one of my favorites so far.
Beth Revis, man, it's just an amazing story. So it's not so much angels singing as Ewoks dancing. No joke. I don't want to break any spoilers or embargoes, especially. You're not lying. The first 2 pages of Princess and Scoundrel were some of my favorite pages in any Star Wars book I've read for going back to 2014, this new era. Loved it.
Yeah, it's so good. So good. And I really hope that if people enjoyed the book, a big if they enjoyed it as much as you and I are enjoying it, that it will convince more people to give Rebel Rising a chance who haven't, because I think that's also up there. I think I think Beth Revis just has a really great take at taking characters that we know from the screen and being super accurate with them, but also making them feel just like totally real, fresh, alive, like they're icons and also humans you could chat with. I think that's what drew me in so much about Rebel Rising. Of just like, I feel like I met Jyn Erso now, like really deeply, like a real human person.
I think that's a great point. We'll talk more. And again, I had to stall out at about 48 pages, but I am confident 48 pages in that you're all going to love this book if you give it a chance. We got some questions coming in here. We got super chat question coming in from Matthew Stokes here in a second, but Joseph, we got Rednecks 42. Me, a big Hitchhikers fan. I don't remember. You're a Hitchhikers Douglas Adams appreciator, right? At least I don't know if we've ever talked about.
Let me paint you a picture.
Okay.
I went to I think I had heard about it on in some way related to Doctor Who.
Right.
And I went to Barnes and Noble and I got the first book and I read it in like 2 days and begged my parents to take me to a bookstore so I could immediately get a Restaurant at the End of the Universe. Then I got an audio version of Restaurant at the End of the Universe, and I fell asleep to it. I was in high school. I fell asleep listening to that audio for months, I think, for like months at a time. Big fan.
Yeah, I know sometimes I barf up that I love it so much that I don't want it to just be associated with me if you love it as well. But I adore it. And almost I don't get in a lot of fist fights unless they were at my old job. Never in a bar or anything like that. I almost got in a fight with a friend who in my early stand-up days said something. I said something about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and he goes, "Oh, that used to be my favorite book too. Then I grew up." And I almost leaped across the room at him. It was just like, how dare you? He's like, I remember 7th grade was one of his quotes. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Somebody said that once to me when I told them I like Frank Sinatra. They're like, oh, I went through a Sinatra period too. Like it was something like a broken leg. It heals and you move on. Like, no.
It's not what we're here for. A lot of people checking in here. Let's get to Rednecks 42's question here. Not an Andor question, but here goes. What detail have you recently spotted for the first time in a Star Wars film or show? Mine was Luke's full-size skyhopper behind Luke as he plays with a toy. Love this question. Love that skyhopper thing too. I have my answer, Joseph, but what do you have?
We just recently did the Magic the Lightsaber Fights episode about Revenge of the Sith, the big epic duels at the end. And I found myself really distracted by there's some kind of like weird squiggly line dancing around on a screen when Obi-Wan boards the ship and checks in with Padme. And checks in with Padme sounds real casual. Like, how's it going, Padme? When she asks if how's Anakin's doing, and he does not answer. There's this like weird display on the screen with like a just aesthetically pleasing squiggly line. So that's the most recent thing that I saw. Probably the more interesting answer is talking about an episode a while ago. We talked about 3PO and R2 specifically, and I watched a bunch of scenes that I've seen 1,000,000 times and only watch 3PO, and I'm obsessed now with his leg rub that he does in the garage with Luke. It's like when Luke's playing with the hologram, and like my mind has always been on that, and 3PO's just kind of going to town on his inner thigh, getting it all cleaned up from the oil bath, and I've never noticed that before.
I don't think I've noticed that. I dig into that. That's amazing. 2 come to mind, but one we recently discussed. You go to the Revenge of the Sith Magic of the Lightsaber Fights episode. You all, if you'd like to, you can check that out. Released on the podcast today. So this is fresh, hot off the presses. This is the great Brian Ward art here. The thing I was brought up on the show of Palpatine and his finger as he's waiting for, or this maybe was last week's episode. No, take it back. I apologize. It's last week's episode. Yeah. when Mace and the crew show up and Palpatine's like wiggling his finger out of like anticipation, nervousness, excitement to finally get to squabble with people, like actually pull out a lightsaber and fight. I never really paid attention to that. So much else going on in the scene. And that was just kind of, I'm fascinated with it now. I want to ask Ian McDermott what he was doing with that. It's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I have to think that Ian McDermott, that was a choice, right? even if it's not a conscious
Yeah.
choice that he is inviting into his body, what's the energy of that this guy's feeling?
Yeah.
And that little scratch is just like, I know where this is going. I know where this is going. Can we just get to it?
Right, just do it. Yeah, it's
Can we be done with the business meeting and get to the fighting
yeah.
finally?
And as a performer, an actor, and as a director of actors and stuff, where these kind of choices, some can just be what they are. But Grace and I always talk about, she loves watching Laura Dern as Holdo, the choices she makes physically in that chair right before the Holdo maneuver. There's a lot of little choices she makes that are just wonderful as a performer. We know Adam Driver talking about owning the physicality of Kylo Ren in lightsaber fight and not wanting a double. So I love that stuff. And Palpatine, Ian McDiarmid, he's pretty much in control of every move that he's making, I think. So it makes some sense there.
Yeah, I know. For me, acting is it's like what Obi-Wan tells Luke about the Force of, it obeys your commands, but it also tells you what to do if you let it in. And I feel like sometimes there's those moments, like certainly as an actor, where I'd be like, if I'm Palpatine, I'm restless, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna scratch the chair. Or you just let the feeling of restlessness fill you up, and then you like look back at the shot and like, oh, I scratched the chair. It's because I opened myself up to the will of acting, and it told me to do that because I was in the moment.
Oh, that's beautiful. This sounds like a inside the actor's studio.
What sound will you hear when the Ewoks come for you, Ken?
What is your favorite Star Wars curse word? Love that there. And one other one I want to submit. This was a couple years ago. And I have a picture of it on my phone. I was always going to put it in the Forcecenter Instagram. We weren't using the Instagram as much, so I still might. It is that Gonk droid that has the weird, like, double eye top, and I just had never seen it. And I had it up. I was just watching one day, and I literally paused. I was like, "What? This is like some like super Gonk droid? Like I'd never seen it. Never seen it." So that's a great question, Rednecks.
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. We got super chat coming in from Matthew Stokes here. Big question, maybe not a simple answer for those of us in the UK. Star Wars Celebration London. Any chance you're attending? Well, Joseph, there's a lot of Forcecenter business meetings to come, but generally, what do you think?
We have successfully, in quotation marks, successfully purchased tickets. I think we both missed out on the 4-day pass, but we did buy the individual days. So we have the tickets. We have every intention of being there in London. Want to go, obviously, for Star Wars Celebration. I will let Ken tell his story of international travel adventures. For myself, I briefly lived in London with my wife when we were just engaged, and we actually got our wedding rings. I don't know if I'm showing it accurately.
Yes, there you go.
Got our wedding rings in London, and we got them at this little shop that was like, hey, and anytime that you need your wedding rings cleaned up, come on back. And we're like, yeah, we'll make it back to London in, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. That was 16 years ago. So we're very happy to come for Star Wars Celebration. And then if there's time, we'll maybe get our rings polished up.
Wow. It's been like a couple Spice Girl reunions since then. Let's go. Do it. Yeah, first of all, what old Hansa, who is also a big Hitchhikers fan, we are Hoopy Fruits. We are Hoopy Fruits. Yeah, it is a complicated answer. We have our passes. I had never done international travel in my life at all. Didn't have the chance. I'm in the process of getting my passport for a lot of reasons. I just, might want to go. So that's in the plans, and I should get it. I was talking to someone about the timing. I should get it in time for Star Wars Celebration. We'll see how quickly it can be processed. And I'm a lifelong Beatles fan. I'm a Douglas Adams fan. Like, never been to England, never been to London. It's on my list. Definitely want to go. I mean, the amount of times I read Nick Hornby books alone, I feel like I know my way around it. So definitely on the plans. It's a great opportunity. Star Wars Celebration. It's a long one, like 5-day convention, I think.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And then, talking to our pal Mark Ellis, who has the intention to go, like, he's like, hey, if you meet Joseph and others over there, why wouldn't we try to put together a stand-up show in London? And that's I'm maybe letting cats out of the bags before the bags are even tied up. But all that, if we're going to go, we might as well make use of the time.
I want to do a stand-up show in London and literally physically release cats from a bag. That is my dream.
There you go.
That would be great. That would be amazing.
There you go. Love that. So yeah, it is a complicated answer because there's a lot of factors to it, and the economic factors. our big one for all of us in life right now. So
it's a factor. And the other thing that I'm trying to keep in mind is it's so easy to go, oh, the next Star Wars Celebration, we kind of just had one. It's in the next calendar year. It's in 2023. And like, wait a minute. It's almost August, April. That is way less than a year. I am delighted to feel like the celebration in London is barreling towards us, but I got to keep that in mind. So get everything ready,
It's like a Y-wing heading down a trench. It's coming up real close. And that'll be the convention is like a week before my birthday, so I'd love to celebrate early over there with some fine folks over there in England and around the world who are going to be heading there as well.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much.
If you see any question, I got one here, but let me know. I know this is for those just joining us. Joseph can't actually see himself due to a weird technical error on StreamYard. So weird, but you all can see him, and that's all that matters.
Technical and maybe emotional issue. I can't see myself today. Well, I'm seeing this one that I want to be sure, a two-parter that I want to be sure to address. Are you looking at a two-parter
from Heath?
Yeah,
this is great.
Okay.
All right, so I got question one here regarding the Q&A on Han's appearance to Ben in The Rise of Skywalker. We just had an episode this week about this. What are your thoughts on Leia's role in that scene? I feel like she's at least participating with Ben in Han's appearance. And then the second part of this question, even to the point of projecting her hand of Han's memory to Ben to receive it. And I really feel deeply that the editing lines, etc., support this. Yet I see it mentioned so seldom. Excuse me. Thoughts? That's one of those ones where I listen to Joseph first and then make sure I don't make myself a fool afterwards.
Silliness. I think I just honestly haven't really thought about it from that perspective. I think of Han and Leia's dialogue in The Force Awakens, where Leia says, Luke can get through him, but you're his father. We can get through to him. We can save him. Me, you. And I really think in Rise of Skywalker, personally, the way I often think about it is almost like a sort of 1-2 punch of Leia force projects. The way I feel it is like Leia kind of force projects her soul into Ben, almost like just like a cosmic hug. Ben believes that the reason that he can that there's no point in even trying to turn back is because his mother wouldn't take him. Not. I think it's not just manipulation he's using on Rey to break her, but I think it's what he truly feels. And I'm always so moved by like that stops him in his tracks of like the one thing I never thought I could have back, my mother's love. I just felt my soul full of it. That stops him. Then he has then Rey shows him this kindness and I think a kind of almost willingness to forgive. And then he's toiling with both of those things and himself thinking like, I need the strength to actually turn back. And I call upon this memory. So all of that is to say, I think that Heath has a great insight that Leia is still with him. She doesn't physically disappear at the end of the film until he does, which to me says she is still with him. So I'm not sure if this is exactly what Heath is suggesting, but I really love the idea that Leia is experiencing this memory with him, that she is along for the ride. Maybe she is helping him manifest it. I don't go for any of the sort of like force spirit that's actually Han. I think it is. I think it truly is Ben's memory is my take. All respect to people who disagree with that. But I love what Heath is saying, implying that Leia opens the door and she gets to truly, fully experience this moment with her son, where his son replays this memory and very accurately replays what his grumbly, distant, but absolutely loving father would say to him in his time of need.
And I know you covered some stuff beautifully in your Star Wars Counseling Rey episode, right? The kind of the big picture of Rey's journey, and that's out there. We even have it rebroadcast on our YouTube channel. Recommend you all listen to that. Yeah, because I absolutely believe you're right. The big thing, and I don't know, Heath, if that's what you're kind of some of the stuff you're picking up on. Like Kylo clearly or Ben clearly feels something, right? It's a shot. So I roll out with that, but I'm with you too. I always stop short of that being anything other than his own memory of of Han. But I like this idea. If the energy of Leia, the love of Leia, the forgiveness or whatever you want to describe it for Leia, the good feelings coming from his mother that he thought he was disconnected from, having something to do with changing the memory for him or making the memory more vibrant or leading him to make this decision finally. After, I believe it in my heart, I always say he's probably had that conversation with his father or replayed that memory day after day after day. I think that's some of the stuff for me that Ray's kind of mentioning and all that kind of stuff. So I think I can follow that down a certain path. If there's some super, technical things and it is kind of a force projection, I don't follow that path. But Heath, I think the spirit of what you're saying, I'm really in line with that obviously she had something to do with it. And like you pointed out, Joseph, she's there till the supposed end, of Ben. That means a lot. It means a lot to what's going on or what she's holding on to and what her energy is doing. So yeah, I'm on board for it in a general sense, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that Han talks that Kylo is still wrestling with, it's too late. Maybe I could have turned back to her, and Han has the line. I'm paraphrasing, but what she fought for isn't gone. If he is still kind of feeling her presence, even allowing himself to maybe think about the possibility of feeling her presence, that makes that line even more powerful. So I think these are great thoughts, Heath, and I am excited to rewatch the scene with all that in mind.
Yeah, and the thing, and we did talk about it on the Q&A episode this week, the recorded episode. What I just love, it's obviously one of my favorite scenes of Star Wars. I think it is yours and as well, Joseph, and so many other people enjoy it. It is so spiritual. It is so open-ended in a lot of ways. It's outside the box in terms of some kind of we haven't seen that in Star Wars specifically before. That's what I love, and you can have it hit you in a lot of different ways. So
absolutely,
there you go here. This question here from Still Bill Joseph is I enjoy it because it's nice, it's fair. Still Bill says, question, when is the Spaceballs rewatch? Can't wait to see how it hits for you from a new, slightly older point of view. So to reset for those who missed that discussion this week on the Q&A episode, we got a great question about Spaceballs. Joseph and I both fans of comedy. We are comedians. We are, we appreciate the history of comedy. We love Mel Brooks. We love his spot. We're both not super fans of Spaceballs, but we admitted maybe it's up for a rewatch. So, I don't know. I have no current plans, Joseph.
I do want to give it a rewatch. Because I've only seen clips. I saw it in the theater when I was a child. And as I said on the on our Q&A episode, on our Questions of the Force episode, it felt like somebody was bullying Star Wars, and Star Wars had already been gone from my life for like 3-4 years, which feels like forever. It was like, hey, let's bring that thing you like back just to make fun of it, which I know is not the entire what Spaceballs is. That's how I received it as a kid. So to the question comment, I love to rewatch it. I mean, that is the gift and the challenge right now, right? When we're talking about like Andor and Bad Batch coming out on the same night, all sorts of things. We got some great Star Trek discussion and comedy going on in the comments. I struggle to keep up with all the Star Trek. There are so many Star Wars adjacent things that I wish we had time to I wish we had time to rewatch Spaceballs and do an episode about it. It really is at this point like a question of which content can we make time to cover.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, there's a lot of great ideas. I'm still dead set on one day you and I picking apart a rather famous YouTube video about the Phantom Menace and countering it beat by beat. That came up today in my own line of conversation. I'll talk about it off air. Spaceballs, and Still Bill has a great follow-up. And this is actually, I've seen this sentiment from other people. Growing up, Spaceballs was just another Star Wars movie. So I've always found it as a compliment to actual Star Wars movies as opposed to poking fun at it. And I think that's a correct way of looking at it. I always try to keep my sense of humor about Star Wars. That's part of the fun. That's part of the shared journey, the inside jokes, the references. That's how me and my friend Joel became friends in high school in 9th grade, making shared references over Hardware Wars, which was the first Star Wars parody. So I love that stuff. Yeah, this is definitely personal taste for my end, and Joseph as well. And again, love Mel Brooks. I love the stories of Mel Brooks. Genius in so many ways. That one just hits differently. But it's been a while. So maybe it's time.
Yeah, I can't wait to give it a rewatch. And I'm sure I will have some different perspectives.
That's all fair. Great questions coming in here. Where's this one? Oh, I want you to answer this one. Sorry, Joseph. I'm jumping
All
the
right.
line. I'm jumping the line. I apologize. Mike Jornlin says, will we see Palpatine in Andor? McDarmid said at Celebration, anyone hoping to see him in the flesh soon would be disappointed. Then we got a hologram and Obi-Wan. What do you think?
This is a joy to parse the words in the flesh. What did Ian McDermott mean when he was speaking about flesh at a convention? Was he making a distinction between he had recorded something with his actual human body versus doing a voiceover in animation? Or was he aware that he was recording a hologram and did not count hologram as flesh? Fascinating. I really, really hope so. Obviously, McDermott is up for it. Obviously, Lucasfilm has really made such a great display of, look, we're going to treat our legacy characters with great care, but we're not going to put them on a shelf as like museum pieces that can't be touched. So between the fact that McDermott's up for it, there's this great approach to legacy characters, in my opinion. That the fact that Andor was filmed over there, right? I just feel like if they're straight up showing shots of the Senate in the trailer, it just really feels like it makes so much sense. And one of those things, don't want to open up a space bee's nest, but like the way that we felt about Luke answering Grogu's call, great. Like other Jedi, who Quinlan Vos could have answered the call. Cal Kestis could. What if they wanted to tell those stories? But it really was like Filoni has said, like Luke's the one who would answer the call, and I kind of feel that way about old Sheev showing up. If we're showing Mothma's horror one meeting with him, certainly some propaganda up around the holo screens of Coruscant.
It almost to the point, I have to choose my words as carefully as I can, almost to the point that it would be awkward to not have even what you're describing, pictures or holograms or holovids of Palpatine and propaganda. Like it would feel weird to me, especially after like say something like Battlefront 2, to not see it. But I don't want that to create a false expectation or seem like I'm demanding some personal reward for rooting for Palpatine all these years. Not rooting, but watching. But yeah, I think you have a great opportunity to do it, right? This makes us, so especially the stuff we're hearing about Mon Mothma and her story and it really being in the shadows of course. And even though she has been around him, she's probably been in meetings with him going back to even, pre-Clone War days. Like there's something to me, like the spy thriller, the tension around it, like almost a serious version of like Indiana Jones coming face to face with Hitler in Last Crusade, where it's just this incredible tension. The person you're trying to get farthest from is now right in front of you, this horrendous, despicable, evil leader. And like having some kind of tension around that scene, maybe even invoking a little bit of like Hans Landa in some of the Inglourious Bastard scenes, where it's just that tension of, you're just talking about cream on apple pie, but dear God, this is everything.
Yeah. No, I really love that, and I think to amp up the tension of this spy thriller, Rednax42 says we saw Palpy propaganda in the Clone Wars series. Yes, we did, and I love it so much. There's some great scenes of Palpatine getting ahead of his manipulation that the Jedi are going to be power grabbing, trying to set up. The Jedi would never grab for power. Whoops, I guess they did. So definitely excited to see a follow up from that. The other thing that I will be fine if this doesn't happen, I will let go of my expectations. But not only do I want to see Mas Amedda, I want to see Mas Amedda's tongue. So there's the deleted scene in Revenge of the Sith where he quiets the Senate down by hissing and sticking out his tongue, and the action figure from Revenge of the Sith comes with a tongue that you can plug into his open mouth. We need justice for Mas Amedda's tongue. And I think narratively, it would be. Go ahead.
I'm just asking a dumb question. Do you have that figure? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we talked about it. In a very kind listener sent us some figures in Mas Amedda. I got the tongue in my bedroom.
Yeah, I got the Admiral Ullard with Hollowboard over there. Did you bring that on Ken Plume's show? You got to go back on Force 5 and just do an episode on that tongue.
Yeah. Oh, the tongue is so great.
Sorry, you're going down a great path, and the tongue.
No. The tongue is the point. I will add to the tongue though. It would be a really interesting dynamic if Palpatine just walled himself off. Like we see him giving the big speeches and manipulating the whole Senate, but like everybody knows that's for show, and senators don't actually go and talk to him and negotiate things. So if there's something like Mon Mothma needs to see him, and it's just like you talk to Moss, talk to the tongue. don't talk to the Emperor, talk to the tongue, and she needs to get past him. Like obviously, all just spitballing for fun. It's all got to work in the show and the story.
I love that. Some of you are just joining now. Welcome to a live edition of Forcecenter. We do this about once a month now, live Q&A. We're getting excited for Andor. We got a lot of questions coming in about Andor. Super chats are open, of course. We always appreciate that. Helps the show go on, but we're just chatting with all of you here today. Love that answer. Yeah, that figure. I mean, gosh, that's why I love Star Wars figures. We got to make his tongue. We got to make his tongue. Any questions jumping out to you there, sir?
Trying to go back a little bit to make sure that we don't miss any. Well, I'm sure we're gonna miss some. Apologies if we do. But how about this one from Matthew Stokes?
Got it. This super chat one here.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And as always, if you ask a question and it scrolls on by, we seem to have missed it, ask it again. We'll totally get to that there. There you go, Matthew Stokes. Thank you again. We appreciate, Matthew, your support there. My hope is Andor brings in some of the tone and details of the Catalyst novel. The book seems so important. Andor would be a great opportunity. Love that Catalyst. We love that Catalyst novel around these parts.
Yeah, no, and I don't know if this is the kind of the vibe that Matthew is talking about, but I really like that we saw in Catalyst the amount of work that Krennic did with Galen and Lyra to kind of just try to sell them on this is all okay. It's the government. We're just doing projects to keep order, so we don't have all these wars. What? Come on, what's the problem? Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing the different levels of engagement with the Empire from the people who are a little bit more just like, I enjoy having power and I want to have power, and the people who kind of convince themselves it's okay, and the people who know it's not okay but are too afraid to do anything about it. All of those dynamics that the Catalyst novel is really able to get into, that's some of the stuff that I'm excited about, and feels like the trailer is going in that direction. Like the two Imperials that we see drinking their calf, Andor's so fat and satisfied. That really makes me feel like we're going to see some of those like middle manager, like, I am totally in the right. The Empire does nothing wrong. This is great. What are you talking about? Like all those different perspectives.
Yeah, I think that soft, cushy middle is where a lot of the actual operational evil happens, right? And they don't really either they know, or they just don't care, or they just don't get it. They're part of a cog they don't care to analyze. And I'm right with my mind went right to this guys. Like I would take a side episode. I know we're not going to get this. This isn't you don't want to invite the Book of Boba Fett discourse again, but like episode 4, day in the life of those cats, just walking around drinking coffee, watching depression happen, just fat and satisfied, like emotionally fat. I could get behind that, because I think that's some of the stuff I absolutely loved about Catalyst and love about Krennic. And I love that his is a quest for power that has everything to do with the oppression and destruction of those underneath him. But he doesn't focus on that. He focuses on his own personal obsessions and powers, and that's where the danger lies. So I'm with you. That's a great question. It's a great thought. I think it's a good place. And even with Mothma, I thought I loved a lot of stuff with Bail Organa in Kenobi, where he's talking with his wife's family, and his brother-in-law's kind of doing the whole like, bleeding heart, save that for the Senate chamber, where and it's like that's something true and deep. And at the end of the series, when he's just like, they're getting more bolder, Obi-Wan, they're getting more bolder, and a lot of the options and paths they've taken, Organa and Mothma, they're drying up, right? They're dead ends. We got to do something else. But I want to see her we're at that period of time where she's still trying to work with policy, or still trying to work with votes or the system, but maybe that's starting to erode. And that's a fascinating part of the galaxy's story for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Final thing for me, because I want to get on some other questions too, is one of the details in threads that I love in Catalyst is Lyra's being sort of force aware, that she just kind of she feels vibes.
Mm,
She's not moving things with her mind, and her relationship with the Kyber crystal, and obviously that's all in
yeah.
Catalyst because it is really giving the building up how beautiful and spiritual and important the Kyber crystal is, so that the vandalization of them is even more powerful. I really do. I don't need to be kyber crystals because I don't need everything to go back to that. But I
Mm,
hope there are elements of that. Of we got the empire over here, but then we have these other cultures who have
mm.
relationship with the force or with the spiritual or with the sacred, the natural, the organic, and you know, I don't know. I already want a time grappler action figure. I'm so fascinated
Oh,
to see
yeah.
how the way they show the cultures of Andor's planet and if that mood could come
Yeah, the Time Grappler is old Kenner vibe without a doubt. Like
in.
where like your friend down the street for Christmas gets old Ben Kenobi, your cousin gets Luke Skywalker, and you unwrap the Time Grappler figure, and you hate it, but then you love it and becomes your favorite character.
Oh, I want that time grappler, a big set with all of his drum chimes.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. We got a lot of great questions coming in here. We got some super chats. We'll get to in a second here. I think this is a fun question. I just love this username, Joseph. Social Tortoise. Um, that's just amazing. Do you guys think that Thane Kyrell and Sienna Ray of Lost Stars could feasibly be woven into a Star Wars project, Mandoverse, Andor, something else, cameo, their own story? How would you
Mm.
prefer it? They follow up with, not sure if you've read it, but it's my favorite Star Wars book. Absolutely read it. Absolutely still one of my favorites. It's a gold standard book. It set the tone and the bar so early for this new era of Star Wars stories. So I'd be excited. I love just the connection. Battlefront, the first Battlefront game released in 2015, where certain Star Destroyers are syncing up to stuff going on in the book and everything. The Lost Stars clearly ends with, I call it a bit of a cliffhanger. I think a lot of
Mhm.
us are still waiting for some of the fates to be resolved. So I'd be on board for it. I think it could work. I think a lot of people will love it. I think comic or book might be the better place to start before you do a Cobb Vanth type thing and kind of take what you want from the characters and move them forward into live action, which I'm behind. I love that idea, but yeah, so it's a vague answer, but yes, I love the book, love the characters, would love to see more.
Yeah, really love the book. It is one of the absolute best, and I also just think it did such a great job of just sort of kicking the door in on the young adult novels and showing that you could have all of the things that are kind of expected and wanted in a young adult novel, the perspective of young people,
Mhm.
romance, and still just absolutely be a Star Wars novel for everyone. And I think at least for a lot of people, got rid of any of those considerations, and the young adult books are a lot of people I just don't even hear making the distinction, which is great. Um,
Yeah.
so I would love. I mean, I think almost my first choice would just be give me a sequel from
Mhm.
Claudia Gray. Uh,
Yeah.
Another choice would be if they ever get into this, and fans have asked about this a lot. Listeners have chatted with us about it. The idea of doing animated versions of novels. I would love an animated movie, short series, just
Yeah.
adapting Lost Stars. Uh, all of that are possibilities, and then I'd be happy to see them pop up. Mandoverse does make a lot of sense to me. I think
Mhm. Mhm.
Andor might be interesting, but there's a part of me that just feels like I want to see where they ended up. You know,
Yeah.
not worry about getting them tied into confusion. I mean, a cameo might work, but
Yeah. They'd be the younger versions before a lot of the major things happen in their life,
Mhm.
obviously. So, yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. Going forward, yeah, you stick 'em somewhere with where it has impact, where it has purpose, and I think that's even what Social Tortoise would agree with. Of not just throwing them out there to throw them out there, but finding the right way to do it there. So, you know what? Hey, make it even if it's a video game.
Look,
Continue the story there.
I don't. It doesn't seem like that Ranger of the New Republic show is happening. Certainly, as
Mm,
maybe initially conceived, but I would love just a New Republic show. Throw
mm,
Thane in there, throw Shriv in there. We got lots of options, right?
mm. Yeah, Shriv. God bless Shriv. More Shriv. More Shriv. Great question, Social Tortoise. I appreciate that just as much as I appreciate your name. There you go. Yeah, I'm gonna freshen up my drink, but any other thing for you there, sir?
For questions?
Yeah, or drinks.
No, I'm slowly working on my gin and soda, and I'm gonna keep myself to that.
Here's the greatest sound in the world, though. There we go.
Oh, that's real nice. That's lovely. Absolutely lovely. Big Lou says Catalyst is my number 3 favorite Star Wars book. It's so friggin' good! Exclamation point times many. Yeah. And Matthew Stokes, Krennic, man, he's my favorite Imperial. Lots of love for Catalyst and all that.
Yeah.
All right, so I am scanning. We have this one from Anakin Crespin. If you want to go there, Ken.
Yeah, and yeah, gotcha. There, another one up above. We'll get about a Taika movie. Saw that coming in as well. Anakin Crespin, and I've spoken with Anakin before. This is Anakin's name. This is his name.
Awesome.
What a name.
That is great.
There you go. Do you want me to read? Sorry, I've been hogging the reading.
I will happily read. Anakin,
Please.
whose name is actually Anakin, which is so cool. It says, "Hey guys, went to get comics on Wednesday, and they had the entire Obi-Wan Kenobi Black Series wave with Vader, Obi-Wan, Reva, and Fifth Brother, and ended up buying them all. Smiley face with a sweat drop. Any recent Star Wars purchases?" Yes. The short answer is yes. I definitely have some Star Wars purchases, but before I go and lose my mind, what about you, Ken?
No, I'm looking around. The only thing recently I added to my collection was it was actually a birthday gift, so I can't say I got a Danny Targaryen bust there. So,
and is that just a bust? Does you twist it and a sucker comes out? Anything weird about it?
No, just a bust, just a bust in there. No, but I got to tell you, I was chatting with our pal Mark Riley, friend of the show. A lot of you remember Mark over there at Riley's Cantina, and he just pre-ordered that Vader that's coming out from Sideshow with the Obi-Wan half helmet type of thing. And I saw it, but I didn't, I don't collect the Sideshows too much. He went ahead and added to cart, pre-ordered. It comes out in 2023. He described it. It lights up. You can get the various helmet modifications. Everything he described, I was like, why don't I collect these? Why don't I get a 19th part-time job to go get those? So no, Anakin, my disappointment, haven't really added anything Star Wars lately to my collection.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to pump the brakes because I have pre-ordered lots of things and they are slowly coming. I've got a weird thing when the actual boxes come, when like this box arrives and I know it's this figure, like I kind of wait for a special time when I maybe finished a script or I got through a challenging day, or like I have a real moment to celebrate it. So it doesn't just become like open one. So I have the Vintage Collection Deluxe Book of Boba Fett waiting for me. I have a couple of Obi-Wans that I became, 1 week I became weak on eBay and I ordered 3 Obi-Wans. So I'll be opening some Obi-Wans. I was talking about this in the main show, but recently we took a trip to one of the towns my wife grew up in, Ames, Iowa, and we wanted to get something at that Target. And Ken, help me out. Is this?
Lean forward a little bit. Oh, there you go. That's enough. Yeah. You did the. This is the one you just did on.
I put him on the old TikTok, the social media. Yeah.
What's amazing is now you have entirely disappeared via the Force because it's the figure's knocking everything out.
I will hide behind this figure. No, I got the modern vintage collection that rebooted in 2018 has already done a different Hoth Rebel Soldier. But I had to. This is a new one. Because I guess they just can't make enough. I had to pick them up because when I was a kid, there was one birthday where my parents got me the Hoth Rebel Soldier, believing it was Luke Skywalker. And I learned a lot about being gracious about presents, and it's the thought that counts. And that memory has stuck with me for a very long time, so I wanted to celebrate it. I also just, I love how unenthused this guy looks about being an action figure, being in the rebellion. He looks like, look, I do not want to be here. I did not even finish my morning constitutional and you're taking a photo of me. Leave me alone.
That's amazing. To see the figure detail, go to Joseph's TikTok. Absolutely love that one there. Yeah, and I love those. That's the cards, man. Those are burned into my brain from the Kenner days of what the characters look like on the cards. Love it there. Love it there. Cali Kid asked this question here, and this is something we've discussed before, and I know we're going to discuss it again, but I think it's a temperature check question. Thor, Love and Thunder, some cool Star Wars vibes. I'm curious about a Star Wars movie written and directed by Taika Waititi. How are you feeling? Like I said, I like kind of looking at it as, hey, what's your tone? What's the tone and temperature right now? Because sometimes Love and Thunder comes out, might change in a good or bad way, all those kind of things. So where are you at right now?
I always want to be respectful to people who have different opinions, and it seems like Thor: Love and Thunder really divided people, and there are a lot of people who just didn't enjoy it, thought it was too jokey, and the jokes undercut the drama, and I get all those opinions. I loved it, and I agree with this question that it had some extreme Star Wars vibes. It really had some very specific like Star Wars themes. We often talk about how like some of the ideas in Star Wars, like you can find them in many places. Our foundational morality of many different cultures. You can find the ideas in Star Wars, and sometimes what draws us is the way it's told and the characters in the world. So it's not like Thor stole some Star Wars themes. These are like big important things, but to me, trying not to spoil it, it wrestles with what is the responsibility of a parent figure, literally, and parents metaphorically. It is one of like the big themes of what do we owe the next generation, which was so Star Wars. And for me, not every single joke landed, but when I really broke down the jokes that I liked, when I got my kind of comedy theory brain going and saying, well, what makes this joke function? What is actually being said? To me, like 90% of the jokes, they weren't bits. They were like, it's funny that a person feels insecure about this, but the thing they feel insecure about is the heart of the film. They're afraid they're going to fail at X, and X is the heart of the film. So for me, a lot of the jokes were like, that was funny, and it's also telling the story. So again, I really get that some people didn't like it. It made me even more excited for Taika. For myself personally, and more afraid of the discourse. It made me more excited personally, a little concerned about the discourse, because it's not going to be for everyone. He likes lots of jokes, and it's not going to be for everyone.
And the nice thing is we have a very sizable, sample with his chapter 8 of Mandalorian season 1. And that's an episode, and I've said this before, but I'll remix it for those who aren't, who haven't heard it before. I'm a huge Taika Waititi fan in terms of his style of comedy. I'm a big Flight of the Conchords fan. I love kind of that dry New Zealand humor. Reese Darby's one of my favorites, where werewolves, not swearwolves, might be one of my favorite lines ever. And it's just subtle and it's dry and it is what it is. So I'm on board for it. I struggled with some of the stuff in chapter 8 in the beginning. A lot of the biker scout scene was not one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. I think it worked on some levels. I loved the performers involved. I think it was a good swing to take. It wasn't my thing. But then I personally get held up on that a lot, where I'm like, I didn't like that biker scout scene as much as other people. But you know what I loved? I loved the emotions and the heartstrings that were being pulled at the end of that episode with IG-11 and all that stuff. And that was a home run for me. He's a talented artist, kind of firing at the top of his game right now. And I'm just excited to have him take some big swings. And I think for myself, I just have to be prepared that, he's probably going to take some big swings. It isn't episode 10. It isn't a continuation of that classic saga. It is the world, the galaxy, the universe that we love so much, but a different corner of it. And we'll see the details of that. So I'm approaching it with good faith, but I understand some trepidation, not just because of Love of Thunder, just because his style is very unique. It's very him. And even if his name's on board as an EP, I'm a big What We Do in the Shadows fan, both the film and the show. His name is involved. He occasionally shows up. Who knows how many writers' rooms he's in for those. Wellington Paranormal I enjoy as well. He's involved. Our Flag Means Death. Haven't finished that. Love the start of that series. Love it and love what he does with that. And I know he doesn't have everything to do with it on a daily basis. He's just riding high on getting things made probably easier than he could 10 years ago. All that to say, I'm really hopeful. I'm really excited. And I do think it is a brave choice from Star Wars, but brave can sometimes mean different, and different can mean discourse. So we'll see.
I want to acknowledge this great comments from Big Lou, who said Taika is great for what he does, but his comedy I don't think meshes with Star Wars. And then a little later down, he says, Big Lou says, then again, I'm really a much bigger fan of the Stoke Thor as opposed to the punchline Thor. It's all totally understandable. To me, there are elements of comedy in Thor from the first film when he throws the goblet down and asks for more, or the cup down, treating it like a goblet. And then yeah, it's there's a lot of jokes, but I think that is really central to the Taika reception, because it's one thing if he were doing episode 10 and Ray and Finn, Poe and Rose are back. If it's a brand new film in a brand new era with his characters, I think that's going to be a lot smoother, because it's not going to be about a lot of his comedy will work if the main characters are in the general oeuvre of Han and Lando, to me, of like
right.
hard luck, people trying to pull out desperate moves. Then that comedy style really fits those characters. If he's dealing with scoundrels and pirates, I think that's gonna really sing.
Yeah.
I
would take a Taika Waititi Hondo Anaka standalone film.
right.
Really well. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to bring this up from our pal Alden Diaz of Ox already. It was Taika's key quote for the Mando Season 1 gallery. Star Wars doesn't take itself 100% seriously, but it does believe in itself. Yeah, that is, I love my bumper sticker statements. That one really worked for me. It can fit on a t-shirt, makes a lot of sense. It leaves room for creativity. It challenges, it pushes the boundaries, but respects what Star Wars is and what it was. So I think I like that quote a lot. So yeah, we'll see.
And I think he's going to have the most respect for Star Wars. It really is about the way he tells the story. I personally have no worries about him respecting like the core ideas of Star Wars. I do want to acknowledge this great comment from Maddie Gunner, who says, I just hope you get Guns N' Roses songs in his Star Wars movie. Again, no spoilers, but look, I was blown out of my seat by the Guns N' Roses content in Thor Love and Thunder. I feel it should have been called Thor, Love and Thunder and Guns and Roses. What was so great about it, if I can just nerd out for a minute, my favorite band played so many of their songs, played in bands, learning the drum parts. They have always, Guns N' Roses has always been, they will let anyone license Welcome to the Jungle for anything. The big three, Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, Paradise City, they have been in a million car ads. You can't buy something without one of the big three showing up somewhere. And this movie goes beyond that and uses what is, to the wider world, a deeper cut. And the perfect weird part of a deeper cut, it was a huge hit single, it's not a deeper cut, but and uses it so it's not just the mood and the energy of the song, but the lyrics are exactly supportive of the awesome thing that is going on. So it wasn't just like, hey, they dropped some Guns N' Roses needle drops in here. It was with such thought and precision that a kid growing up reading Thor and listening to Guns N' Roses and thinking these two things could never come together. It was a very special moment in the theater.
I love that. I know you have no time, but I would love you to start one of those podcasts where you go song by song through the Guns N' Roses catalogs. I have some friends who do it for Aerosmith right now. That would be an amazing podcast. You just go song by song.
That would be really fun. It would be great to do some music content.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake Stanley just says, "Give me a Lost Stars Vision sequel at least." Yeah, something like that. But I think obviously not too long after Catalyst hits the shelves, they're already starting to work on High Republic, and they already started to pull Claudia Gray in for that. And we know she goes on, does two other wonderful books outside of High Republic with Leia, Princess of Alderaan, and Master and Apprentice. So, as well as some short stories and everything. So, who knows? Maybe it's still on the shelf. Maybe there's still a whiteboard in her office of ideas for more of that there. Great stuff there. Great stuff. I love the Guns N' Roses thing. It's still one of my favorite things about you. It's one of those lessons of don't judge a book by the cover, but even if you're judging it in a good way, like when I met you, very funny, eloquent, great Star Wars pontificator, real gentleman of a human being. And then I find out you love Guns N' Roses, and I was like, that's just I didn't account for that wrinkle. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah,
I
actually,
contain a multitude.
yeah, this is gonna have to be in the works. I do have the new series that was launched on Pop Rock and Radio, called 5-Song Set. So yeah, Joseph Scrimshaw for 5-Song Set, covering his 5 favorite Guns N' Roses tunes. That's absolutely something.
Ooh, that would be a fun challenge. That's
Yeah.
a great show idea.
Yeah, absolutely there. So yeah, anything else jumping out to you, sir? I think.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of Taika engagement, which is great. Great to see everybody's perspectives. Scrolling back up to see if there's one that we have passed by.
I'll throw this while you're looking at. Maddie Gunner says a Tika movie directed by Taika. Thank you. Yes,
Absolutely, with music by Taco. Yeah,
I would love a mockumentary with Tika and just him cutting to the camera talking in Jawa. I don't need to just put the subtitles up. Just have him explain his day. That'd be amazing.
it would be absolutely amazing. There's just a lot of great Taika thoughts, so I am having a hard time finding the questions, but we will find them. I know there's more in here.
Oh, good. Jake Stanley says good night. Thank you for checking us out, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a question, but this is from back when we were talking about what figures we got. And Gas Nottingham said, I just bought a 1985 Lumat for 30 pounds. Don't tell my wife. Smiley face with laughter crying. I just love that here on this stream. We all know what that means. But if I told most people, I just picked up a 1985 Lumat, like 30 pounds. Like 30 pounds for a car?
Yeah.
People just assume a 1985 Lumat is a car.
I love that. I've seen this one pop up. If you want, we can take this one from Still Bill here, Joseph.
Yeah, go for it.
It says, guys, if when Grogu gets a Mandalorian helmet, will his ears tuck under the helmet, or the designers of the ears poke out? What's funny, this is a great kind of sweet, silly question, but there's probably meetings going on where this is being debated and answered.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of fan art, right? No, I mean, I think you got to let the ears hang out, right? But I guess, poke out makes aesthetic sense. Thank you, Will. I'm team poke out. It makes aesthetic sense, right? It looks painful and perhaps limiting to actual ability to hear, to jam it on. Mm-hmm. But then there is, maybe it could be narratively important that it is a true reckoning of the Mandalorian code of never letting your face be seen. Like,
yep.
I think Din is going to change on that. I think that is the rigid approach of the Armorer's cult.
Yeah.
But it'd be great. It'd be great if he was having to negotiate with his son. Yeah.
Alden says, I passionately think the ear should poke out. I'm ready to make it one of my political positions. I love that.
Getting great suggestions of armored ears, chainmail, ear sleeves. That's definitely the way to go. But this would be great if it was like a point of father-son rebellion of like, I'll go along with the nobody else is supposed to see my face, but I'm going to let my ears hang out. And like, all right, son, I'll give you the ears.
Love that. Yeah. I think I'm on ears poke out only because Chihuahuas aren't an exact 1-for-1 comparison to Grogu or Yoda, but there's some similarities with those ears. They're key to their design and their existence and their survival. So yeah, I wouldn't put a hat on Chihuahuas that would pin their ears back or down. So, or any dog for that matter. But Chihuahuas' ears are very sensitive and very important to their evolutionary survival. So I'm going to go like a helmet that doesn't cover the face, maybe slides down with like eyes. So it's kind of like mirrors his eyes. And then it just slides back and the ears are out. I think that's what I want.
I have another Grogu grows up question for you, Ken. Seeing recently a discussion on social media about how Grogu's eyes, of course, are all big black, but then Yoda has actual pupils, and that they tried to give Grogu pupils, and it made him look terrifying. Do you want that to be a truth of their, like, it could just be like they're different, whatever this species is. We always joke they come from the planet Yothon, where they're grown out of tree pods and fall every 3,000 years. Who knows what it is? I don't want to know. Do you want it to be that they just have different eyes? Or do you want it to be like, when he hits 75, whoosh,
Yep. I think it has to happen that way. Now, I'm with you too. Even, I'm a big fan of Admiral Radis, but he's from the northern seas of Mon Cala, and that's why he, his coloring's a bit different. We got Boss Nass, a different kind of version of Gungans and Jar Jar, right? There's some difference in their species there. So I think there's some precedence to just keep it as is. But as he gets older, as his face changes, I want him to have that little wispy junior high mustache that comes in for like half the semester till he learns how to shave. I want that. But yeah, as he gets older, I could see them finding a way to make it work. I do agree it would not have worked. And part of the joy, there's so many things that work for the Grogu design and character, but the eyes are very key. So I understand now, but yeah, I think subtly over the course of seasons, because it will be shocking if just season 4 pops up and he's like, ding, like you're like,
it'd be really funny if he and Din are separated for an episode and Grogu's back as the camera and Din, walks up and Grogu just turns around and he just got the whites of his eyes showing. Din's just like, there's so much I don't know.
Don't understand. Oh, great stuff there. We got some questions. I do want to throw this nice comment up here from Darth Canuck, good Canadian listener there. Thank you guys for all the hard work you've done. You've inspired me and my friends do something similar. We appreciate that. Me, Joseph, and Jennifer appreciate that
very much.
It's been a long run and we appreciate it. We also want to celebrate, actually, cheers all of you. We switched to Acast as our podcast host and provider in December, and since that mark in late December, we've just hit 1 million downloads. And numbers are numbers, and they don't mean a lot to the bigger picture of the world, but they mean a lot to us, and that just shows that you guys are with us, and we really appreciate it. So cheers to all you Forcecenter friends. Someone earlier, I can't remember to give them credit, but when you were showing the figure and it made you disappear, someone said we just weren't ready to see Joseph yet. Like Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan. I love that there. Rednecks 42 had this one here saying, I don't know why my screen is just like having some issues today. I asked about humor in Andor. Will there still be some in season 1 with no K2SO, and does it risk being jarring when he appears? I think this is a great question because, and I'll start here, Joseph. We are often, you and I talk about Star Wars needs to have a certain level of joy. It needs to point towards hope, but we also love Rogue One, and Revenge of the Sith is rather dark, as is Empire Strikes Back, famously. But it needs to point towards some sort of center of hope. That's what Star Wars is about. So I think it can hit all those beats. I just feel there will be more humor than even I'm thinking of. Because Andor will have friends, he'll have family, he'll have loves, he'll have losses, he'll have a life to have lived, that he's lived and will be still trying to live, and that includes humor, and that includes heart. I think we'll be able to find those moments.
Yeah, I think so too. It is definitely something I'm thinking about. I love Rogue One with all my heart, and it comes through in spades on the hope part. And K2SO really provides some humor, but I'd take a little bit of the weirder and the wilder side of Star Wars in that movie. And it looks like Andor is going to be this tense spy thriller. It's grounded, it's gritty, it's real people in real mud. And I'm excited for all of that. But I do still want there to be a sense of humor. I'm kind of hoping for some level of gallows humor where people are kind of getting through a dark time by finding what is absurd about it. They can't believe they're in this position. If we're starting out with Andor as somebody who is at first like reluctant and kind of a cynic, doesn't want to do it, kind of a grump. I think a great source of comedy is to have somebody who is a contrast, somebody close to Andor is like, you are such a grump. Like those little human moments where there's that friction between like how incredibly grumpy somebody is versus somebody who is trying to see the bright side in a dark situation. I think there's lots of ways to really organically get grounded humor in there, and I'm really hoping for it.
I got to tell you where the source of humor is going to come. It's coming from those Imperial officers drinking the coffee. I bet they're hilarious Disney comedy cartoon villains, right? They got a song they sing. They're hilarious. No,
how would you feel if anytime that there's a lull in conversation, B2 Emo just starts playing whatever the Star Wars version is of The Cure. Just starts blasting it.
Would love it. Would love it. Absolutely love that. It's some early 2000s. I want B2 Emo to play some Dashboard Confessions. Like, it's ruined puzzle. I want that. Oh, I absolutely love that. Yeah, it's a great question. Again, I think it's a great question, especially because you and I are very much on the, hey, humor has a purpose in Last Jedi. It's communicating. Not every joke is going to hit. We know as stand-up comics, I got a big show tomorrow night. I'm hoping 60% of the jokes work. Like, that's a good percentage for me. It's just what it is, and you're going to take some swings. I totally get it, and not everyone loves the humor in Last Jedi, and I don't take that away from anyone at all. But yeah, the Andor is even in the photos. The photo shoots is kind of grim. The trailer's somber, but I get it. But I think we're going to have those character moments. They're going to emerge, and then Kate Russell will show up, and it'll be snarky, and it will work.
Yeah, and sometimes there's just kind of like a great wry dark comedy that comes out of extremely tense situations. There's been the Americans I always talk about, because that's what they one of the person who started the Andor project and is still writing one of the episodes. There are some extremely darkly funny moments in that show, because they're dealing with this contrast of, the basic setup of the Americans. For anybody who hasn't watched it, it's set in the 80s, and it's Russian spies trying to pretend they're Americans, and just how they feel about the contrast between Russia and America can suddenly be really funny, and there could be some humor like that too.
I love, and this is a great point from Douglas Dubois, saying a Dolores Ed Tollett type character in Andor would be great. He, of course, is up at the Knights, the wall, and part of the Night's Watch in Game of Thrones. He's one who becomes the Lord Commander at the end of the show. He has that kind of grumpy, snarky, this is my life. We're digging up, manure up north of the wall. And this is and I think that's a great comparison of someone in the rebellion, someone dealing with the darkness around, going to your point, Joseph, of gallows humor. That could work. That could work. It's a good point. Good pull. Good pull.
Yeah, I want to jump back to just a moment from our Grogu conversation. Our friend and designer Brian Ward had this great comment. Grogu has Funko eyes until he turns 150. I'm thinking of the old song, She's Got Betty Davis eyes, and I want to change it now to She's Got Funko Pop eyes.
Grogu will see you. He'll believe you. I challenge Brian to do a tween years Grogu design.
Just as ghastly awkward as humanly possible.
And I promise, Brian, if we use it in a thumbnail, we'll ask permission and pay for it. There you go. Any more questions popping up? We got we're no rush here. I don't know where you are, Joseph, in your life. I just have to walk a Chihuahua in about a half hour, but we're here hanging out with all of you, having a lot of fun. And thank you for super chats that have come in, and thank you for all the questions that have come in. We appreciate your support in it.
Yeah, I think my drink will hold out until it's Chihuahua walking time, so I'm happy to shoot for that. I'm seeing this one from James Farley, who says, "Oh
yes, another one, good one. Yes,
here's a quick cue. Has Forcecenter read Kevin Hearn's Heir to the Jedi? I often feel it got buried in that initial batch of canon novels." Ken, here's what happened to me with that one. So that was before Forcecenter started. I played kind of catch up on a couple of those first ones. Got Lords of the Sith in particular from that real early batch. Then Aftermath is what everybody's talking about. Jump back to read Darth Plagueis, not part of that first batch, but later part of Legends. So I've never read A New Dawn, and I've never read Heir to the Jedi, and I would love to make time for both. The thing is, I hope that there are people out there who like Heir to the Jedi. It sounds like James probably does. I heard that people in general didn't like it, so it had never been on the top of my list. If James is asking from a perspective of enjoying this book, I'm delighted to know that.
Yeah, I haven't read it, and I think James is exactly right. It surprisingly got buried because it's about Luke Skywalker. It's like it's him, and there was a lot going on during that time, and you're right. Forcecenter really wasn't up and running. That was October 2015. We really launched in full over here. Even then, remember, we were doing bi-weekly episodes, so it was a different time. And at Jedi Council, we weren't really covering books in super detail. We'd hit some of the big ones when we could. So I just kind of didn't get to it. And then, yeah, unfortunately, some negative word of mouth did hit me as well, which is never fair to the writer, never fair to the book. You should judge everything as you want to take it in and see what's there for you or what's not there for you. So I didn't really pick it up. I also wasn't. We are blessed to get from Del Rey. We don't get them from Lucasfilm. We get them from Del Rey. We get some of the books in advance, and that's a very fortunate thing.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I want to or not, whether I want to read them or not, they're in my hands, right? That one was not. Never was sent to me, so I never sought it out. But I'm willing to give it a shot. And you mentioned A New Dawn. Like if I ever meet Jonathan Jackson Miller, I'm gonna apologize to him because. Maud and I, back in Jedi Alliance days, we had read that book. That was the first one to come out. And I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting more of the continuing adventures of Luke, Han, and Leia, and knew this was a tie-in with Rebels. And I wasn't sure what I was going to feel about Rebels and, this kids show coming out. I don't know. And I slagged on that book. I went on air and made jokes about it being boring and falling asleep. And I just, I don't know if I'd feel that way now, especially the way you and I kind of dig into things, but also what was there in the book. You got drunk, down and out, depressed Kanan meeting Hera, their burgeoning both partnership and later on relationship. You got some great stuff. You've got a villain that I didn't love, Count Vidian. But then the more I think about it, he ties into the what you and I not enjoy, but discuss a lot of the actual oppression of the Empire, and it comes from a lot of different angles, not just militaristic. And Count Vidian is that, and there's a lot too there that I'd love to give another shot at. And I've been thinking. I was actually talking with our friend Billy Patterson over at Fandom and about that book and about that time period and the rebellion, as you kind of see the rebellion form through different eyes and ears. So yeah, good point. Yeah, so haven't read Heir to the Jedi and want to reread New Dawn.
Yeah, I'm excited to check them both out. Yeah, Heir to the Jedi, just that title, that picture of Luke, that's the kind of book that I would have picked up back in the day when I didn't have a podcast, because it's Luke and calls Heir to the Jedi. And then I really enjoyed the Kenobi Legends novel by John Jackson Miller, so that's made me only more interested to read A New Dawn. And every time I remember that it really is, Kanan and Hera, of course, I want to read a prequel where we see how Jason Syndulla's parents got together. Of course, I want to read that.
Yeah. Awesome. This great comment here from KW. Then if you got a question that pops up, Joseph, let me know here. KW says, you two have really created a show where I feel I'm chatting with old friends. Thanks. And of course, Jennifer as well. Yeah, no, hey, that's only because of you all. Joseph and Jennifer and I could come on here for years as we have and talk about what we love and all those things. If you don't connect with the vibe and you don't keep that going, our Discord is a great spot. And I don't check in on it every day to police it, who's talking negative or this, that. And there are sometimes debates and there are sometimes differences and there's discourse, that dreaded discourse word. But our Forcecenter friends, our community, you all make that possible. So we love doing these live shows. We love hanging out with all of you. But really, truthfully, that's a tip of the cap back in your direction, KW.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see on the streams like this, like when people do have different takes and different approaches. Like, we joke about the discourse, and we always mean when people are on social media being really negative or kind of taking easy shots or being mean to each other, or being cruel toward creators, all that kind of thing. Get to that point where I feel like I can't post that I enjoyed something on my public Facebook unless I want to clear the day of having friends from 15 years ago tell me that something I like is terrible without it actually being discourse, with it just being comment. Yeah. But we are so happy for the discussions that we're able to have, where I have learned so much from listeners about different perspectives, from being born a different time or from your life experience makes you appreciate this part of Star Wars. And we love that discourse. And we thank you all so much for creating that.
That gets a Forcecenter well said, which if there's ever a Forcecenter bingo card made, that comes up every now and then. People have fun with some of our repeated phrases and everything. That is almost center square. Well said. Well said.
Yeah. For sure. I did find another question. I'm getting better at finding questions, Ken.
It's hard because everything's moving up. Everything's moving up.
So this one from Brandon Smith. Not sure if y'all have discussed it yet, but Star Wars trademarking those 3 circle titles. So I saw this like scroll by quickly on Twitter when I was working on something else. I didn't dive into it, so I don't know exactly where it's sourced from. I can't remember the titles, but I did see this basically a headline that this is something that happens in entertainment all the time. I remember just like a week ago, I saw it break like, hey, we people found Marvel trademarking the Avengers titles that they announced like 2 days or the next day later. So I am always extremely wary of anything that is not fully officially announced. The trademark is often accurate that something is happening. So I think it's worth being speculating cautiously.
Yeah.
So Ken, did you hear or read anything about it?
I did see that, and yeah, I'm with you too, because I think often that, sometimes it's like when a company registers or a film studio specifically to film or TV, registers a bunch of websites or something. A lot of them are just placeholders, a lot of them this and that, but I think there's a lot of truth to them. It's different, but and unrelated, but also related. Like, remember when the Tales of the Jedi Lucasfilm gift thing leaked, and that turned out to be real true, right? So, yeah, and this also happened with Forces of Destiny, where I think some people had discovered that was trademark and whatnot. So I give a lot of credence to it. We don't really follow the leaks and the rumors. We like to wait till everything's kind of official, but it's interesting. It almost reminded me of Project Luminous, right? Just some kind of catch-all generic term to hide something, but it's pretty intriguing, and we're getting into an exciting era where, whether films, television, comics, books, we can start pushing the boundaries of the Star Wars story out into the galaxy. So it could be something pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm very, very intrigued for, if it is accurate, what's it for? It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Super chat coming in from Anakin Crespin. We appreciate that. It really does help us. We appreciated it a lot. But Anakin says, how canon is the comic where Obi-Wan and Luke save Owen and Chrysanthemum, and Obi-Wan looks just like Ken Napzok? Hey, that's me. It's one of my favorite comics of all time, but the show makes it seem like a bit of a stretch. It would be pretty canon if it has Chrysanthemum, because that means it's a Marvel run. And I remember some people, I don't look like Obi-Wan. I wish I looked like Ewan McGregor. But my beard catches the light every now and then. But I remember there's a specific panel, some people had tweeted me. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be pretty canon, but we're in this era, and this is coming up. It's a discussion maybe we have. First of all, I think Joseph and I need to have offline before we discuss it on air, of just some of the stuff going on with animated shows, or the Cobb Vanth of it all, of taking things that are in comics and books, and then the characters or the plots or the scenes sometimes get reworked later on. And I think I generally fall on the side of, I'm good with that to a certain degree, as long as the spirit is still there, and you can just, it's a different way of retelling the story. The opening scene of Bad Batch comes to mind. That was a big controversy. It's not just because, hey, George did this kind of stuff too. That does factor in some of my decisions, but it's just as a creative, it just makes a lot of sense. And there's so much, and that stack of comics I have, like, I don't know, I don't know. And I wouldn't want Jon Favreau to be too limited because in issue 19 of the Marvel run from 2015, this happened. I just wouldn't want that, even though that I don't mean that disrespectfully to Charles Soule or anyone who wrote those comics or the authors of the books. So I accept it as canon, but if there's some blurred lines or something doesn't sync up right away, that's something to look at, something to dig into. But this is also why I really hit upon that phrase emotional canon, and why we talk about it a lot. I'm more worried about that. Are the themes in line with the Star Wars story? Are the characters in the same spot? Is it hitting your heart in the same way? That's where that phrase came from, especially coming out of Last Jedi, where all my theories went wrong. And Zer Leonis from Rebels wasn't John Boyega's dad, like all that kind of stuff. All my theories didn't, and it was like, it's just really about what Star Wars is about, and not what's on the screen or the little minutiae details. I think y'all know what I mean by that. Anyways, long-winded answer, but Anakin, that's what I think. Joe?
I agree with your long-winded answer. Yes, no, well said. Bingo for everyone. No, I really think that the comics are canon. That's sort of the official position.
Yeah.
The last time they talked about it, right? And I think that there's an awareness of being a little gentle with how we talk about canon. I like the approach that when something is canon, it means the event happened. But
Mhm.
these are all stories that are being told. For me, I feel like that's the way I receive Star Wars. That it's a story being told, and that's how it exists in the galaxy. But then even within stories, it's literally this is a story being told. That I believe that comic is presented as Luke reading Obi-Wan's journal, right?
Right.
And realizing Obi-Wan's side of an experience that he had as a kid. So even within that, there's a sort of like a mythic nature to it. So to me, I approach it as canon as like I think they fought, and I think that Obi-Wan probably did save Luke a couple times or bounce in to help out, even with the television show.
Yeah.
But then the question is, do are the details told slightly differently? Are the details
Mhm.
remembered one way by one person? Like when I get
Yeah.
together with my buddies from high school, I'm like, here's my high school memories. And they're like, I only remember half of those. And then, like, remember when you did these three things? Like, I remember one of them. I
Yeah.
do not remember two of them. They happened, but they're not part of like my legend
Yeah.
in my mind, or my legend of my friend Kevin,
Yeah.
uh, and I kind of feel like it's in that sort of real world way, and that's the way Cobb Vanth makes sense to me. Of like
Yeah.
his core character, his core events all happened. Maybe they shift a little bit. Same thing with Kanan in Order 66.
Yeah.
And I feel like as long as the events happen, a version of the events happen, that's good for me. And then maybe they get interpreted a little bit different in different stories.
Yeah, and I understand and sometimes share little frustrations over it of like, well,
Hmm.
why would you do that? Why would you change that lightsaber there? Why would you? I don't throw that kind of criticism out the window. I understand it a lot. I think it's just how you take it, and I don't even I'm not even pushing for like a canon, a sliding canon scale like they used to have in the old days, and G canon, this canon. I don't think you even need that. It's just the spirit of it. This is, being such a Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, not even the series that's coming out, House of the Dragon. They've made it's from Fire and Blood Volume 1. It's from a very detailed section of that history book. But even George will tell you, I wrote it from a certain point of view. And the show has said, yeah, there's some areas, some shadows we are going to play with points of view. And I just like that creatively at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We pulled up an image of this comic book. There's some great Obi-Wan poses. He's got an awesome leg up pose. Anyway, sorry.
Love that there. We got a quick one here, and then we're going to get to a bigger one from Kenosis and Brett and Moore. Other ones, you guys got some great questions coming in here. Social Turtis back. Which Lando outfit is y'all's favorite? This is great because I love Lando. You love Lando. And classic Lando, Empire Lando, is tough to beat. That's like pepperoni pizza for me. I love pizza. I love pineapple on pizza. Stone me in the street if you want. Love it. But I love older Lando in the younger yellow, kind of that vibe. There's something I love about that. Just love the connection, love the look, and Billy D makes anything look good, but especially that.
Yeah, man, I wish I could offer variety, but no, it's the classic Empire. It's partially because I grew up with Empire, and Empire is one of my favorites, and I love that blue shirt with the black collar and the cape, where it's like it just rests on my shoulders. I don't even need a clasp. That's how cool I am. It stays on by the force of cool. Like
Right.
I love that, and it's not even that flashy.
Uh-uh.
And yet the legend grew
Mhm.
from it. It's so pleasing. I
Yeah.
have a couple of that Lando figure. Yeah, and all of his outfits in Solo are great. And I love
Yeah.
the Numidian Prime Sports one. That's great. But there is something about the older Lando still pulling off the yellow of his youth.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
think that's what it's not just like, oh, cool, that connects it. I remember being in the room when they played that photo at Star Wars Celebration in
Right,
Chicago,
right.
and we're all like, wow, they put him in the yellow. It is about like everybody ages differently, and Lando's like, oh man, I lost this, I lost that, I got to come back to the fight. I need a cane now. I can still pull off yellow. That just makes sense for his character.
It really does. It really does. Yeah, you're right. That Chicago panel when they unveiled that, it was a big ooh in the large convention hall there.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Great stuff. We got some very generous super chats coming in here. If you're ready for this one, Joseph, here from
Please.
Kenosis, which is next to Geonosis on our map in our minds here. With Andor being tagged as gritty, does Star Wars have to have a place for an R-rated movie? I'm thinking Bane or Revan. Would a mature show a la GOT fit within the Star Wars ethos? Thanks, guys. Yeah, and this comes up this comes up a lot, actually, quite frankly. But I love, again, a tone and temperature check on years later. We haven't really addressed this directly for a while. Where's my mind go, and where do you think? So I'll start with you, sir. But what do you want? R-rated Star Wars?
Yeah, I think my mind goes to what truly makes something R-rated. And a lot of it is, it's more explicit violence and more explicit sexuality and more explicit swearing, right? And Star Wars has been throwing out new space swear words for a while now, and I encourage even more fake space swear words in Star Wars. So we got that one covered, right?
Yeah.
That we probably don't need an R-rated. I mean, look, part of me does want to see Poe Dameron and Han, meet at a younger age and exchange F-bombs, because I think they'd be great at it. Leia Organa delivers the best F-bomb in the entire galaxy, in my opinion, right? Padme only says it once in a while, and Anakin is shocked when she does. Anyway, I'm getting very distracted. I don't think swearing is a consideration for myself. For issues of sex and sexuality, I feel like I think that Star Wars' general approach to treat sex as a sort of like kind of old Hollywood romance. I like that. I'd be fine, honestly, if the films, I don't need anything explicit. I'd be fine if the films leaned into a little bit more chemistry, a little bit more, frankly, just characters clearly being horny for one another, but not in a way that would need an R. So then I go to violence, and that is the most interesting one, and I think it's in Kenosis' question with talking about Bane or Revan. For me, I think violence is a part of Star Wars. It's, wars is in the title. The issue of when to use violence and when not to, and what it does to your soul. It's at the heart of Star Wars. I just question what level of violence that I haven't seen in Star Wars would I feel like a story truly, deeply needs. Like when you look at Revenge of the Sith, when you look at some of what happens in the Clone Wars, there's a ton of violence, and it doesn't get the R rating because it's, space fantasy violence, but it's a lot of violence on screen. It is like, hey, Yoda, your best friend, here's a stuffed toy. He cut 2 guys' heads off.
Right.
So I think when I kind of just process what makes a movie R rated, I don't for myself feel what would the story need be, even in a Bane or Revan novel. What level or kind of explicit real world violence is needed to tell that story that Star Wars hasn't already danced to the edge of?
Yeah. That was where my mind goes first, of really what's making it R, right? Is Leia turning the camera and going, "You gonna be the one?" It's good. I got maybe use my sound pad. Is sex, and look, some of the novels touch upon it a little more directly. Aftermath, I think, has some, isn't the bounty hunter character, there's some sex in Aftermath, and there's clearly sex in Star Wars, right? We get it.
Rebel Rising has some explicit hooking up. Lost Stars has some explicit hooking up. Lords of the Sith has the implication of assault.
Right.
Yeah.
No. So my point, you're never gonna get, and it's not just because it's Disney or anything like that. I just don't think Star Wars needs the sex position of GOT. GOT didn't need it, and slowly, though they made a lot of mistakes along the way, and still kind of refused to budge off some things, they moved away from that by the end of season 6, 7, and 8. In a way, there was other things they struggled with, but the season 1, make you blush stuff was less and less as the show went on. So I don't think any of that. It comes to the violence. I always tell the story of being at the Cinerama Dome watching Revenge of the Sith in '05, and these 9-year-olds behind me bawling, screaming, scared, watching Palpatine being electrocuted. It's a PG-13 movie, right? So Star Wars can take it. I think, and I don't necessarily think this is a great question, Kenosis. So I don't want I want to make sure I'm answering it correctly and not attributing any of this to you. My fear and the thing that I've stood on the opposite side of an R-rated Star Wars in the past, simply because how it would be, forget the story, it's how it would be viewed. Like, I love Logan. Logan's one of my favorite movies. It's an R-rated, grittier, super, like, you could do that. You could do that in Star Wars. I worry about the misinterpretation of it from a lot of folks. The glorification of Vader, and Vader's cool. I have like 19 Vader figures hanging in my wall. But if you miss the point of Vader, if you miss the point of that hallway scene, I always go, Vader marches through everything, the biggest badass in the world, and it never gets him what he wants. That's the point. That's the theme. That's the big lesson. And if you stop before that and it's a simple glorification of it, or gritty for gritty's sake, that's the only thing. And I'm not saying, Kenosis, that's what you're heading at there. I think you've got some good points. And those are some characters that it could do. You could do that with. That's why I've always stood on the opposite side of the R-rated question in the past. It's not just because it needs to be for 12-year-olds and hope and simple, joyful things. Clearly, Revenge of the Sith goes into areas that are darker and more violent and more in your face, including, the stuff with Padme at the end and Anakin choking her. That's not light, to be taken lightly. And you could even argue, did George handle that well? Blah, blah, blah. Go down that path. But yeah, that's my only thought there. So at the end of the day, do I want to see, look, Mandalorian, episode 1, chapter 1, closing that door on the Corrin. Cool. Totally good with that. I think that's okay. And I think that can be the spirit of it. It's what you do with it. And then the danger is how it's viewed. But, Star Wars can only worry so much about what it puts out on screen and how people are going to take it out.
I agree with everything there, and I'm not a super expert on Bane and Revan, but I find them fascinating. I find the idea of like, let's dig into these Sith Lords at the height of their power. How did they cope? How did they perceive things? I think it's a really great and interesting possibility of storytelling. I think it is. Yeah. How do you show that story and then still show that it is a choice that in the end doesn't get them what they want and make it a tragedy? I am interested in it. And in the sense of fun, I got to dig this up. It's an old clip that I saw. I think it's Conan O'Brien. I think it was a live show interviewing Lucas, like right before the Clone Wars, either the movie came out or the television show premiered, and Lucas is kind of telling him about it and how it's going to have these lessons for kids. And Conan O'Brien's like, oh, so it's for kids. It's like Trail Heroes. And then Lucas is like, it's a war though. And lots of people don't make it. Conan O'Brien is like, so, who is it for, George? And he's like, guess we should figure that out. I'm utterly paraphrasing from memory, but the general spirit of it was Lucas just kind of being that, like, I want to tell this story. It does require some violence, but it is ultimately about teaching kids, reminding adults how to be the best version of yourself. Where does that sit is always going to be something kind of interesting and kind of awkward that only makes it more fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's a bigger discussion we come back to a lot. But Star Wars is for kids. Even George has said that in sometimes snarky ways. But when you take for 12-year-olds, it go back to when you were 12. It wasn't teddy bears and toys. A little bit. I had stuffed animals till I was about 12. But junior high, 12, you are dealing with sex, sexuality, violence, bullies, your place in the world, and that is gritty. Junior high was gritty. Like Star Wars does touch upon those things, and that's, I think, sometimes forgotten when it's like, it's just for kids. No, it's about kids becoming adults and the choices in front of them. So that's why I get to some of those areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I'm reliving junior high, and the highs are breaking out. All right, a few minutes left here. We got this one here, Joseph, from Bren Mystical Mar, a former Star Wars trivia champion in the FCL. We had a chance to meet Brennan at Star Wars Celebration on that Thursday. Is Emphas Nest going to appear in Andor? Better? She better or I riot? No, I don't take that approach, but I want Infamous Nest to have her own series, but I will absolutely. Season 2 Andor appearance seems possible and plausible for me. Joseph, you?
Yeah, I would love that. I would love Enfys Nest to appear just about anywhere that it works on the old timeline. But it makes a lot of sense. It would be a really interesting way to feature that character. So yeah, if it makes sense for the story they want to tell, boy, would I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Anyone jump? We got some super chats to get to. I don't want to miss those. We also got some non super chat questions too. If anything's jumping out to you, sir, let me know.
Why don't you keep heading toward the super chat and I'll check for any others.
Absolutely. Ronan always checks in and always is super generous. We really appreciate that. Ronan says Rogue One gave us the now iconic Shore and Death Trooper. So are you excited to potentially see some cool new trooper variants in Andor? Or are there any existing troopers like the Range Trooper or Patrol Troopers that you'd like to see pop up? I am team Range Troopers. I'm ride or die with the Range Troopers. Love that design. Love everything about them. So season 2 Andor, maybe he spends some time in Vandor, Fort Ipso or something like that, or just Range Troopers showing up elsewhere. Love that. But I do love the idea of some sort of, street patrol officer. I know he mentioned the patrol officers from Solo, but, some new version. We see what looks like maybe a local kind of force of some kind in the trailers there, the kind of the bluish, reddish, purple kind of vibe. But yeah, some new kind of troopers. I'm always up for it. I don't know. It goes back to the Kenner loving kids and all of us. Give me a new variant.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game that got set up by the original trilogy of like, wow, snow troopers. Oh, wow, biker scouts. Shore troopers are one of my drop dead favorite designs. They are both just aesthetically cool and they also make me laugh at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to see. I think I think there are those Imperials in the trailers look to me like kind of locals who have been sort of deputized to be the local watch. But they look kind of like so I would love to see like kind of stormtroopers in training, sort of like half troopers. The local militia who's being sort of ushered into being a stormtrooper. Other than that, the one actual climate atmosphere that I want Star Wars to do is Snert. I don't know if other people from Minnesota know this, but it is the combination of snow and dirt. The snow comes down, it's all beautiful, and it just looks like a Bing Crosby song on the ground. And then life happens, and then you spend most of winter with this weird, darkened mush that I was told was Snert. And I would love to see a Snert trooper.
Love that. Oh, that'd be great. What's the design? Did they even need a mask, or is it kind of like the Mud Troopers, but just Snert all spread all over them there?
Like the I think like the snow troopers, but like not as good.
Yeah, and be it like an old school GI Joe fan, Cobra every year because they needed new figures for the line. There was always some different kind of viper or eel, and one had underwater gear, one was snow. Like, I'm all for that. So maybe some scuba diving troopers, some water troopers. I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping back for a fun comment. Mark Rodeo says about our previous conversation, I like my Star Wars to reflect my life with minimal sexual content.
There you go. Here, Mark.
Good sense of humor.
And this comment from Big Lou, stuffed crust pizza, Forcecenter, World of Warcraft. The Force is strong with this Friday night. Yeah, Big Lou down there in Florida. You're living your best life, sir, and we envy you. Love that. All right. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Got this other super chat from Jake Walsh.
Here I see that. Jake Walsh. Thanks, Jake. We really appreciate that. Do you think we'll ever see Old Republic content? Man, what do you think? It changes year to year for me. I'm at a yes, but hold on to the concept of patience.
Yeah, I feel like the rumors, which we don't know, the chatter feels like the movies might be moving to some sort of post sequel era. And so that makes me feel like I think we will get Old Republic content eventually. I'd be really fascinated if the Tales of the Jedi series is successful, and that would be a way to just kind of dabble in it. I think they should jump in both feet.
Yeah.
And I know it's complicated because do you adapt the existing stories? How much do you change characters that in beats that people know and love so much? But it's just it's a rich and fertile time. I want to see storytelling when there was more than 2 Sith. I'm really
Yeah,
interested in that. So I hope that there will be content of some kind sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I look. I believe from a lot of things that were out there and heard that when Benioff and Weiss were on board, that was kind of the era they were going to play in. I really do believe it was going to be a little bit more about origins of Jedi and whatnot. But the High Republic shows that High Republic doesn't erase the chance for Old Republic content. But I just think they're so invested in that on the publishing side that I think you'll see a while. But as far as a series, a movie, I think would really work. I love you. Every time you talk about it, I do kind of get excited for just put this big giant battle on screen. And then there's this little weird outlier of George on record. And yes, George is not in the meetings anymore. We know this. Just ask him. But him saying, yeah, no. Everyone says there was a battle between Jedi and Sith. There wasn't. The Sith just had power and they lost it because they're so obsessed with their own power and they kind of ate themselves in a way. I don't know if that plays out on screen perfectly, but there's ways to tell that story too. Bottom line for me is I think they'll get there. I think it will work. I know that the remastered version of the game got delayed indefinitely right now. I know a lot of people are upset about that. There's a lot of story to tell. That great little short that our pal Alex Backus and his writing partner Josh put out was in promotion of the video game was great. There's a lot of stuff to do. I want the reason I want it out, Joseph, eventually is just to finally get it on record. What is it for canon? Put it out there. Let's live with it. And let's have the people waiting for it hopefully be happy. Let's have someone like me who's not super familiar with it because he didn't play that game, didn't read a lot of those books. Let's dive into it and let's get it out there. And I really think it could be this nice, wonderful, fulfilling, rewarding pocket of Star Wars.
Yeah, here's my final thing I'll say on it because I know it's almost Chihuahua walking time. Will McLean says, I feel like adapting Old Republic is a no-win situation, so much attachment to the video games. I really get that concern. I'm mostly interested in the era. And I like, George's thoughts of like, yeah, the Jedi didn't go to war with them. The Sith eventually destroyed themselves. So what becomes interesting in my mind is, yeah, even if the Jedi aren't like, yeah, we're gonna suit up and we're gonna fight a war, all those Sith are still raiding planets. They're still spreading misery, right? So you could have a great 3-arc movie where it's this Sith Lord and his 7 acolytes, or their 7 acolytes are taking over this entire system. And these 8 Jedi are sent to resolve that situation. That's a trilogy all by itself. And it's just in the era and it's not touching the video games.
Yeah.
That is the kind of stuff that I think might be the sweet spot for me.
To avoid that dreaded discourse word, the games have their own special place, and you have to touch those very carefully if you're going to tell the story in some other form. So the era is a good spot to be. I mean, look again, the Ahsoka's lightsaber colors change or whatever, and it's like it's an uproar, and I get it from book to Clone Wars. So that would be a tidal wave of opinions. I don't know if I'd be ready to deal with if they just do simple Knights of the Old Republic. So
yeah, Video games are like my action figures. We should touch them carefully.
Yes. All right. Final question coming in because I've got a 4-year-old Chihuahua that needs some energy expelled. Jake Walsh again checks in. Do you think the man in the back to tank, speaking of video games, in the Jedi Survivor trailer could be a Clone Wars era Jedi who survived and was forgotten about along the way? That trailer, I got to tell you, Jake, this is a great question. That trailer has got me excited for a game that I'm sometimes less thrilled to have than others, right? I've addressed that. I love the story, love the characters, love the themes, and the game doesn't pull me in as much as it does, say, an Alex Damon. But that trailer was really darn good, and there's some great mystery to that, and I like that idea. Keeping with the theme of Survivor, Jedi Survivor. What does that mean for Cal Kestis? What does it mean for the characters we know and already have met? But what does it mean for the characters to meet along the way, and for someone who might have survived from a more known, celebrated era like the Clone Wars? Man, that'd be good.
Yeah, I kind of hope so. I really, really like Jedi popping up. I like this story that, hey, there are a decent amount who survived. Some of them stopped being Jedis. Some of them are just the dregs. I really love, it's my favorite parts of Obi-Wan Kenobi when like, there aren't any good big name Jedi left, just these dregs. So I'm always happy to see more Jedi and to see the diversity of perspective that they got from the Clone Wars. So I say, put a Jedi in the tank. I'll be happy to play the game.
Put a Jedi in the tank. I also want to bring up Serenity Jane has this comment. I've been on a Rebels kick and I read A New Dawn. It was a bit slow for my liking, but it's happy to see how Kanan and Hera became partners. Yeah, and I think that's some of the stuff that's in there. And that's why I want to revisit A New Dawn, because I've changed the way I take in Star Wars, just the way we discuss Star Wars here in Forcecenter, Joseph, of there were some things in A New Dawn that I just didn't like, but there were some things in there I do like. And now I engage with that a lot more than I did in the past, where I focused on the negative. Now I want to look at the positive. So Serenity Jane, I think that's a good point there. All right. I think we've done it. Joseph. As Troy T says, 2 hours of greatness, his words, not ours. But a lot of fun. We'll do this again next month. Of course, it's going to be a busy month. We got Andor. Final one from Cali Kid. Where do you think Star Wars Celebration 2024 will be? God, I hope Burbank.
Yes, I hope that it is in Burbank, and Ken will take us all to all of the Sizzlers. He'll take us on a Sizzlers crawl. Star Wars fans do a Sizzlers crawl across Burbank to every single location. Thank you so much, Cali Kid. Ken, do you want to let people know where they can find us and you before we wrap up?
Absolutely. We are the Forcecenter podcast feed. You can find us on Twitter at ForcecenterPod. Don't forget our Instagram as well. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't watched us yet here on YouTube, we rebroadcast episodes. We have one little essay out about little Leia. We got one working on. We're both working on some essay videos. Guess what? Kind of busy, but we're going to get those stuff out there. We do these episodes once a month. A lot of people ask, hey, where's Jennifer Landa? Jennifer is excited to get on a live show with us. She's going to be here one time. It's just a little bit of a scheduling issue, but don't worry. We ask every time. She's ready every time. It just hasn't worked out yet, but keep hope alive. Jennifer will be here. Don't forget to follow her as well. You can get merch at tpublic.com/YouTube/Forcecenter. You can support us directly at patreon.com/Forcecenter. Also, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or you just listen to us in general, go over there, give us a rating and review. We are approaching 1,000 ratings and reviews, and that really helps the show grow as well. So we're kind of directly asking about that. Follow me at Ken Napzok or KenNapzok.com. If you're local and you're watching live, tomorrow I'll be at Flappers in Burbank doing some stand-up comedy. Joseph, that's me. Where can they find you?
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Joseph Scrimshaw is my handle, and you can visit my website, josephscrimshaw.com, for a lot more comedy stuff that I've done in the past, a book, some comedy albums, and some upcoming stuff. If you're in the Midwest area or you're traveling to Convergence, a great convention in Minneapolis, I'm doing a new stand-up show there called Joseph Scrimshaw versus Emotions. I'm really excited to be doing that. So go to josephscrimshaw.com to check all of that out. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. We really appreciate y'all. You make it all so fun. We'll see you next time here on Forcecenter.
Forcecenter.